There's no something coming from the sky, and there's none of that, outer space things that they talk about. I'm sorry, but I hate to bust people's bubbles.
This is Hard Parking, brought to you by Right Honda and Right Toyota out of Scottsdale, Arizona. Coming up on today's show, former country music singer, I guess he still sings, which I discovered, Dallas Walker, not to be confused with Walker, Texas Ranger, but Dallas Walker. We met on One Drink Wednesday a few years ago. My great friend Wes Tankersley, co-host of One Drink Wednesday, had him on his show, Shaping Success. And we've been talking about getting him on, here on Hard Parking for years. And finally, the other day, he reached out to me and made a comment on something on one of the TikTok videos. And I go, let's do it. And he goes, let's do it. What you will find is a incredible individual. He had a major life shift at the age of 35, complete 180 of his normal life up until that point. Find out what caused that. Find out why he doesn't really perform as much as he used to on stage. Kind of had his eye open for a few things. And find out what his controversial take is on aliens, the planet, outer space. I was wild for one, so much that I didn't even tell Wes, our mutual friend, anything about our conversation. All that and more coming up after this word from Arcus Foundry Spark Forge. If you run a business and you're tired of juggling tools, chasing logins, and constantly feeling like the tech side of things is heavier than it should be, this might hit close to home. That tech fatigue usually shows up as an outdated website, reviews slipping through the cracks, missed calls when you're busy, or social media that's always on the back burner. Most business owners know something's off, but fixing it feels like a bigger project than they have time for. SparkForge exists to take that weight off. It handles the tech behind the scenes, helps clean up how your business shows up online, makes sure calls and messages don't get mixed, keeps reviews from slipping through the cracks, and wrangles social marketing so you don't disappear for weeks. If you're curious, there's a short discovery session, and it comes with 90 days free to actually see if it makes things easier. No pitch, no pressure, just a real conversation about what's working, what's broken, and what you can simplify. So head over to getsparkforge.ai/hardparking to get started. Dallas freaking Walker. It's been a few years. First time on the show. I think we've been trying to make this happen for a while. Initially touched base on One Drink Wednesday with our good friend Wes Tankersley. But man, we got some stuff we should talk about. So first off, welcome to Hard Parking.
Man, thank you so much for having me. Super excited to be able to do this.
So where are you these days? I guess I had this whole intro for you, and I would have said, this country music singer, a songwriter, exotic male model, business owner, all sorts of things.
Yeah. So I've been back and forth between California and Tennessee, mostly for the past few years. I think when I was on the One Drink Wednesday podcast with y'all, I think I was living in Franklin then. So we're talking 4.5 years or so. 4
crazy,
years,
right?
something like that. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I'm just now thinking about that. So that's been a little bit. But I moved to LA for a little while and did the back and forth thing. And now I'm actually trying to move into the West Hollywood / Beverly Hills area. So I've been hunting for a place this week. So I'm hanging out here and just, checking the culture out. It's definitely different than I thought it was.
What happened the first time you moved to LA? Because you're doing the music thing. I think you're still doing the music thing at times. There's a lot to catch up on, but then you left and now you're back. So what happened the first time? Like, why did you leave?
Yeah. So when I went to LA, I know this is going to sound a little frou-frou, but it's not. I had very much spiritual awakening, I guess would be the thing. In Nashville, I was doing the country music, wide open and growing that all the time, kind of really focused on that. And my health began to take a turn.
Mm.
When I was in Franklin, my health was already struggling, but I was just kind of hiding it and pushing through. But I came down pretty sick, and so that
So
changed a lot.
what was going on? Hold on, what was going on? What do you mean
Well,
by health?
yeah, yeah. So lots of high blood pressure. My blood pressure was much off the chain part of the time. I'd actually gotten on blood pressure medicine, things like that, and it just really it was a big wake up for me.
Oh wow.
Um, Mine was more aligned with strokes kind of thing, stroke potential, and obviously, that's not that's not any way
You're a young
anybody
guy
wants to
though.
live life having stroke. Right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
Well,
so I really
Walker,
had to
if you
make
don't
some
mind, like
lifestyle change.
Dallas, how if you don't mind, how old are you now?
46 now.
Yeah, that's young. You're in your early 40s.
Yeah, I am. But my lifestyle was pretty heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not ashamed of it, but it was when you're in country music and you're singing the honky tonk life with alcohol
Yeah.
and all the bad words, I really began to learn that the words we speak are so powerful. And I was wondering why I was living all these things. And then one day I realized I sing about it all the time, you know. And so people listen to me sing, they clap along, they raise a glass, and they cheers to it. And, I was like, man, I've got to make a change. So I don't not do it now, but I'm way more selective. I actually turned down quite a bit of opportunity for country music, but I'm still actively writing and I have some other things in music I've kind of taken.
So then you went to LA and found the spiritual path. I kind of remember you were we kind of joked about it a little bit, but it's into the horses and I think some of the American Indian culture and some of the words and their
Yeah.
meanings. Am I kind of close or way off?
Well, I got into a lot of the uh, Central America kind of plant
So I was
medicine
off, but
world,
yeah.
the plant medicine world. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So ayahuasca and mushrooms, different
sure.
ancient plant medicines, Native American plant medicine kind of stuff that people use. And it really turned my life around. I mean, all
It's
jokes aside,
amazing.
it sounds
Yeah.
crazy, but I don't even know that I would be here today if I hadn't have had those interventions.
No, that's awesome actually. And so, what why did you decide to turn to that? Did you read something? Did you see an ad? Did you just, like what started that that trek to completely change your life, really?
Well, I credit it to God. You know, um, I came to California because I was sick, and my family we had a lifelong friend, and his being both nutritional doctors. So yeah, so I came to California to connect up with them, and they began to feed me some nutrition. I probably didn't realize how malnutrition I was from the food and the lifestyle that I was living. Single dude, I was eating a lot of fast food, just living the life, singing, drinking, partying, fast food, and repeat. And it broke me down. So, I feel like a lady come into my life that we had a relationship for a while, and she had recovered from cancer, from a
Mm.
pretty serious cancer situation of liver cancer. And through deep spiritual work and plant medicine and fasting and nutrition, she cured herself from this cancer. And so she had those experiences. She was also a nutritionist and really an angel sent to me because I was in bad shape. And I found that a lot of things that we have physically are tied emotionally to us. So a lot of people that have any sort of diseases, generally there's an emotional root, from some sort of past trauma, relationships, childhood, something. And so that's where I began to crawl through my awakening process. Spent a few years just really, really diving in deep, really deep, and also seen a lot of people's lives changed. So that was it. I mean, I know it sounds, like I said, it sounds a little a little out there,
No.
but it's the
Well,
truth.
the thing, Dallas, is if I didn't know you, maybe, but we've met. You've been, you were one of our regulars for a while. We do miss you. We wish you'd come back.
Yeah,
You don't have to drink anything, but
yeah.
it it makes sense, and then for you to bring that person into your life, right? And then
Yeah,
for them to they're not selling it, they are living it, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, hey, this is what I had, this is what I no longer have, this is what I did
yeah,
to get there. If you trust in me, trust in this process, because at this point, anything and everything you've done to this point isn't really doing anything for you but killing you. So try it. Like, why would you not, right?
that's right. Yeah, I didn't have a lot of choices. I mean, I felt bad. I could barely get through a day. And when I say that, I mean just going outside to get something out of my car was a big task. I
Mm,
was really in a bad shape. And, between probably, anxieties, stresses, different things in life, plus the bad habits, the bad food, so many things that had accumulated. But I really believe, it was because, I was, impacting. I was on a path where people did listen to what I say. I'd spent years in the church, I'd spent years in music. And when you're up on a stage and 100 people in the room is toasting whiskey to what you're saying and singing, that's a profound impact in people's lives, right? And I'd look through the room and somebody's passed out drunk, and that was what I was promoting. That was what I was doing. And not that I'm not against country music. I still love the culture of it and all those things, but I love it from an art perspective and not from a lifestyle perspective. you know.
I would have rather you said it's not that I'm against whiskey. I love it. It's just the country music was killing me.
I'll be honest with you. I like whiskey. I still drink it. I don't not drink. But before, my lifestyle controlled
Right, right,
my
right.
habits, right? I didn't have control as a man. I didn't understand the sovereignty that I have, even though I was a father and all these things. I didn't understand, that to all of our actions, there's a reaction or there's reaping to our sowing, right? So it's good. I love to drink. I'd love to drink with y'all on One Drink Wednesday again, but it's from this point, it's I'm in control of it. It's not in control of me.
100%, man. So let's rewind. How did you get to where you were on stage? The movies where something happens, they go, you're probably figuring out how I got here, right? And they go like way back.
Yeah.
How did you get to that point where you're on stage? Because as a reminder, like my listeners and my viewers, a lot of them, this is their first introduction to Dallas Walker.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So you're talking about the singing on stage?
Yeah, where are you from? What brought you to there? What was your family like growing up? You're strong in your faith. Where did that come from?
Yeah, I started in church as a kid. I grew up in the South in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and my parents were raised in a religion. They met in the church, and
Hmm.
they had a long marriage. Which my dad, since I've last he's been gone a year now.
Sorry
So
to hear
my
that.
mother's been gone 10, and but they raised us, me and my brother and I, in a wonderful home. They were, we were all very Christian, very devout, very committed. There's a lot of things. I was raised in a very, very, very strict, religion. The women wear the dresses, and the men wear the blue jeans, and there's no facial hair for the men, no cutting the hair
So
for the women.
so what was it? Was it like Pentecostal or what
Yeah,
kind of?
it was called holiness, but it's a very strict. It's a much stricter than Pentecostal.
Which is
So
already strict as
right, yeah, but
right. Okay.
The Pentecostal were not going to heaven. Okay, they
Yeah,
they
I
were
gotcha.
clearly deceived and children of the devil. So
So was this like the handing out the pamphlets with the cartoons on there with people burning?
yeah, no, it wasn't charismatic. It wasn't that. It was the group is a very confined group of churches that started. My great grandfather was also early on in the 1900s
Oh,
starting as a
okay.
group. So we're talking about 100 churches that's involved in this. It's not a huge scene or group, but very niche,
Mm.
very specific and full of many good people that I grew up loving. I was a minister in that world, spent many years. My whole life was dedicated to that world up until I was 35 years old.
What happened at 35?
35, well, I went through the big D. So I'd been married at the time 18 and a half years, and just
Mhm.
through, I guess, life growing apart, great woman, mother of my children, but I grew apart and, made some decisions. Of course, in this religion, once you fall out of the church, there's no going back in. So it's
Mm.
like there's no revolving doors. So
Yeah.
for me, if I was going to divorce her, then I couldn't be a part of the church. So
Mm.
I chose to back away and change my life.
Do you think that rule keeps people together even when they kind of don't want to because it's such a God-fearing relationship?
Yeah, I think when you feel like you're going to burn in hell eternity for doing something,
That
if
does
you
something to
really
you, yeah.
truly believe that with your heart, then it's
Yeah.
going to have an effect on your decisions. You know what I mean? I
Right.
mean, it's just, if you feel like, divorcing is going to cause you to burn in hell or not go to heaven or whatever, you're probably going to stay where you're not truly happy. But yeah, religion is a powerful thing, period. It doesn't matter which one you pick. Anytime you subscribe to other people's opinions and philosophies, and because you don't have your own convictions or whatever, so you adopt other people's, that's a big deal. That's if I go to adopting what other people say I should think, I may not know how they got there, right? you know
Mm.
so I find religion to be one of the large snares of the earth, honestly.
And so you go through the big D, 35, at the age of 35, you're going through it or you're completely done with it, whatever the case. Is that when you start wilding out? Maybe you're trying to catch up, or did you always were allowed to have a little fun, but not too much?
I think it was a slow spiral. I
Yeah.
think, start out, you get a new normal. And then when the country music came along, I began to do with social media, and all of a sudden, I had opportunities to go into to theaters, places, sell tickets, getting asked to come here, come there. And so things started changing. Back then, a few years ago, the algorithms were much different. So I could get on
Right.
social media and sing to a lot of people in my living room. And now it doesn't seem like as many people are allowed to do that.
Weird,
Um,
right?
but yeah, it is. The algorithms are definitely different. And now the people that get that access, you got to almost think they're in the club. Somehow they're in the club, you know. I don't know where
So
the
what
club is, but there's got to be one.
what brought you to West Hollywood? I mean, you're trying to buy a home there. What are you doing right now? In hobby and work, whatever.
Yeah, I'm looking for an apartment area now to get settled in and just learn the area. So I've been doing, a mixture of hotels and Airbnbs and all that. It's fun to go in. I decided in life once I began to physically get better, and I realized that this is all a game, you know, and that we are the aliens. I saw something the other day about the aliens, and I just to bring that up, but a lot of people are talking about aliens coming, aliens coming. I'm like, we are the aliens. Don't look any further. Just go look in the mirror. You're the alien. So so when I started understanding a lot of that, that what's really going on here, and a lot of propagandas and things that are used to make us believe and think certain ways and spend our money certain ways or
Yeah.
not spend our money, whatever. So I decided I wanted to enjoy the game, so I started businesses and I started changing the kind of music that I was into and what I listened to. Um, and, everything has evolved. I guess you could say I'd call myself Dallas 4.0. you know. Maybe even now Dallas 4.5 since I've crossed the 45 threshold, but you know.
What are you doing with music now then? What do you listen to? What's on Dallas's uh I would say daily or whatever playlist? I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
when I think
It would
about
be very
you,
boring.
when I think about you, I think of, especially knowing what I known of that journey you've taken, and even with more explanation today, um, you listen to like Zen massage parlor music, or are you listening to,
Uh,
like, what are you listening to? Some world tunes?
yeah, yeah. World music primarily would be the genre. It's a lot of, like Hindu and
Yeah,
Hebrew, you know, just so many different languages, but it's a lot of mantra. Um, and then a lot of like, hand pan music, like beats, rhythms, like I guess you could say kind of yoga style, things that
or like
calm.
bongos and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, things calming. You
Yeah,
take your
yeah.
energy and your nervous system, right? We're going, 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 going all day long, and our nervous systems are just like maxed out. And so I like to listen to things that calm me down.
I think of that type of music, and tell me if this does it for you too, Dallas. But my wife will tell you that I don't have a large collection of music. I would tell you that she's wrong. Um,
Mhm.
but I think about that music as music you can listen to that doesn't really tell you what to think or what to believe, and there's nothing wrong with having music that does do that for you at times, right? But it just, you find yourself in a place where you're just thinking and you're just enjoying it. You may not even be processing the music anymore, but it takes you somewhere else. Does that does
Yeah,
that happen with you?
yeah. I mean, it's definitely a channel.
Yeah,
We can get in a zone. I think we need to be careful what we listen to. I know this may sound crazy coming from a guy that used to, not really have a lot of boundaries and things. But I think we can listen to things through a lens or a filter and say, okay, this is what this is. It's an art or it's a whatever. But when we start taking things to heart, taking things in, and
mm,
speaking also the lyrics and things,
right.
man, I'm living proof that, you are what you eat, and you also are what you speak. And my life began to change. I mean, I could go into so many details of just, to a sense of almost losing everything. And then realizing that, man, I've got to change everything, from starting to make my bed every day to get a new habit, uh, just to be a different man, to be there more for my children, to be the kind of man that a woman would want in her life, so many things like that. So it wasn't about what people thought about me, but it was what I thought about me.
Sure.
And so I feel like music is a big part of that. I truly believe music is a bigger part of our life in this world than we even understand.
Yeah, it's like I'll watch a movie with my wife, and it's the art of the music score. The music that's always playing in the background that kind of ushers you through the sad scene, or ushers you through the scene
Yeah,
that builds anxiety and you don't even realize it. And I've brought that up with her, and she's like, I didn't even notice. I go, well, trust me, it would be completely different if they were playing the ice cream truck song during the middle of this chase scene. They play certain music to help
that's
usher
right.
you along with the raw emotion. It's just so much art in the sound and how your body processes. You're 100% correct on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of, I was able to write a song and put it into a movie, a Western style movie recorded in Columbus, up near Columbus, Ohio. It's an old Western called Dogwood, and it's starring Eric Roberts and some different,
Eric
um,
Roberts.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, he was in there. So the very first scene is this big scene of a casino and Eric Roberts and his girls and all this, and I wrote the song for this 1860s set and produced it, and the girls on this old clangy piano singing it. But it's cool. But
That's
just the
awesome.
whole scene, yeah, the whole scene was set for that song, And so I read the script and came up with the whole concept. And but it's really cool. It's actually coming out soon. It's called Dogwood. So I don't know exactly
Dogwood.
where all it's going to be, but yeah, it's just a cool western up in that was done up in right near Columbus, Ohio, in a little town. So, but anyways, but you know, you're right. The music, man. When you watch a movie, if you have the wrong music on there, I mean, it changes everything. You know, it's so
Yeah, on social media, have you ever seen where they'll have like a an iconic scene of a movie and then they'll play different music to it in the background and it just completely changes everything.
oh,
It's
I've not
fun. Oh
seen it,
yeah,
but
there's a whole thing. It's funny as shit, and it's like, damn, why did you have to kill that for me? You know?
yeah, yeah. I go to the on Monday mornings in Malibu. Every time I'm able, I went this past Monday morning. There's a composers breakfast, and it's just a lot of people that's been involved, like some of your top composers in Hollywood, and people that worked along with Michael Jackson, and you know, a lot of his legendary music videos and different things. And these are some of the best in the world. And they talk about this. They talk about this all the time, you know, in series and new things that's going on, and how important the music is for it. So, you know, I've become more and more. I used to be a lot more of a singer. You know, I sang and
Yeah,
sang and
yeah.
sang, and I didn't pay attention to what I was singing. You know, when I was in church, I was singing about dying. You know, you got to die to go to heaven. You know, so everybody's trying to die, right? So you go to church, and you sing about dying, you sing about running from the devil, and all this stuff. And so the way I got the devil out of my life is I quit going to church. You know, so once I quit going to church, I didn't hear anybody talk about the devil anymore.
Dude, that is so bizarre, isn't it? I mean, so what are you doing? Because I want to take that somewhere, but instead, like, what are you doing right now? What do you got going on right now? And then we'll switch gears after that.
Yeah, so I started a company called One World Home Improvement. It's a home
Okay.
improvement company. I started with my son and my son-in-law, and we have some different home improvement products and home improvement services and things that we do. We have different wings, but primarily the superstar right now is a whole house water filtration system that we actually bought out of Mississippi, and we moved it to Chattanooga, Tennessee. So we're manufacturing the best whole house water filtration system in the country for your home, and it's a powerhouse system to remove, you know, fluoride and heavy metals and microplastics, forever chemicals, and all these things. So our product really does what other people's claim at a high level, a high performance, and so that's what I'm doing. It's an American Purity water system, and we're redesigning it even again. We've already done one redesign. We're doing another one to go even into larger mass production because there's such a strong demand for it. So we're really excited about it. It's a great product. You know, we're doing some different home improvement things, but I was able to get my son and my son-in-law and really pour into my family. So this is what
Sure.
became important to me. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
is not just businesses that I run and they're my employee, but they're my partners. And to be able to work with my children and stuff and do this kind of stuff has been one of the most beautiful things in my adult life.
Why home filtration? And maybe it's just an opportunity. Like we have a whole house system here. And so we see the value to it, but not everybody even understands the value or what it really is or why they need it. And I know that
Yeah,
different regions of the country have completely different water, some is
yeah,
more drinkable than others, some you
right,
don't want to touch. It's not like Mexico, but
right,
especially in the region we're at right now, the Southwest. This is probably the dirtiest region in the US outside of Flint, Michigan. Why should people entertain this or take a serious look at it and not look at it as just some sort of a luxury because they're
right.
not cheap, but they're also important.
Yeah. Well, price wise, there's nobody going to beat our system, especially for performance. But if you took performance out, we just have a really good price system. But performance, there's nothing out there that's even close to what our performance is. But you know, we're made up largely of water. The water goes into your skin, right? So if you're putting chlorines and all these things into your skin, which is your largest organ, your immune system's having to fight. It's having to deal with all of that. And this is something that, imagine us constantly stressing with not only what we eat, right, but what we put on our body, everything we make with our food. You put water in your soups and your foods and all these things. You drink water. We go buy water. So our concept is water you can trust. So it's a system it'll deliver water, clean water to every tap, and not just clean water, but better than bottled water at every tap. So most people are already paying for it; they just don't have it. So they're already buying bottled water and paying all this money
Right.
and all that, right? But they don't have what we can deliver to every tap. So when you're able to wash, take a shower in it, and all these things, it's a whole new experience for one, and the peace of mind that hey, I'm doing something to help myself, right? Investing in ourselves. This is one of the most important investments you'll ever make, is in yourself, whether it be the kind of food you eat, whether it be the thoughts you think, the music you listen to. Like we're talking about all these things. It's all about becoming the best version of who we are. And I believe water is one of the key things. Also have another company, and it's called American Purity Air Systems. And so we've got like kind of two wings of the bird, and the air systems is a product that I've designed, that's exchanging air quality from outside and raising the quality of air inside your home, and AC units and all the things that comes along with that. So these are the two wings that I'm flying with, and I guess the tail feather is going to be some good world music, to help fly that bird.
There you go. With the air system, I mean, obviously allergens. I live, in Arizona, and people say come down here for the good air, but then actually it's not really good at all. And so, we buy these very expensive air filters for our three systems, but they're almost so restrictive. But they're one of the higher levels. I think it starts at like 7 or whatever, and we have like, I think 11 or 13 grade filters, right? But even in that, it's for houses that have, shitty windows, shitty door gaps. You're still, have this air, so it's almost like you're fighting this nonstop battle with shit air coming into the house from other places.
Yeah.
Have you guys looked at maybe getting into new construction as well as a kind of an added benefit? It's kind of like when people build the envelope houses where they do it right from the ground up so that you're not having to pay so much money on the back end trying to retrofit your house.
Right. Yeah, definitely we want new construction. We're not quite nationwide with the air system
Right.
stuff yet, but we are with the water filtration. I can send it anywhere. And it just a plumber can install them, one line in, one line out, easy peasy, and get people good thing. But air, this is what we breathe, like you're saying. I mean, when you're in a home and the home is sealed up, and you think about 3 or 4 people breathing and exhaling in that system, in that sealed up system, and the air quality going down over a period of 8 hours, 10 hours, whatever, not counting allergens and different things that come along in there, right? So to be able to monitor that and to deliver clean air, and to no longer say I need to go outside for fresh air,
Right.
what I'm saying? So a lot of people, I need to go outside to get fresh air. And that's true. A lot of times we do need to go outside to get fresh air.
Air ain't that fresh.
Right. Yeah, but I think our bodies are amazing. We're told that we're constantly dying and we're constantly this. I don't agree with that. I think that we're told a lot of things that does not add up to what we can perceive, as the aliens that we are. I feel like our bodies are very resilient to be able to heal, and to be able to, any part of our body can improve and heal if we'll put the right things to it, if we'll give it the right fuel, if we'll take the right mindset, from cancers to mental disorders to whatever you can imagine.
So we're the aliens. I'd imagine your whole world opened up, once you were forced to leave the church in a sense because of mental health, better health. I mean, what do you think about all this stuff? You had mentioned that earlier, and one of my really good friends and I talked about the 4 types that they've identified, and every day there's more stuff that's being released by the government, surveillance, and now I guess the current president has told people that they should come forward and just talk. Like, what do you think of all this?
I think they should all go drink 1 cup of ayahuasca and then come back and tell me what they think. Because there's definitely there's definitely a lot of, there's levels of consciousness, levels of frequency, and what they're describing is a bunch of hoopla. There's no something coming from the sky, and there's none of that, outer space things that they talk about. I'm sorry, but I hate to bust people's bubbles, but the reality is things that we can perceive and that we can see and witness with our own eyes, and not necessarily things that we hear about on TV or some government official tells us. I think it's like everything, politics, religion, all these things have purpose, and if you'll follow it long enough, you'll find there's a lot of money behind each. There's a lot of money being exchanged, through politics, through religion, through all these explorations and all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of money involved. And, I don't judge. I mean, we all need money. We all want to make money. There's no judgment here. But I think a person should go by our observation. What can I see with my eyes? What can I hear with my ears? What can I smell with my nose? Feel with my hands? Taste with my mouth? And go by those things that we have, right? And as in the human experience, especially now, and I think this as well as anybody, the ability we have with artificial intelligence capabilities to create images and this and that and other. I mean, come on, where does it start and where does it end? It's like,
Let me go back there because I think you blew right past this, and I may have misheard you. Did you say that space is make believe?
well, there is a space, I guess you could say. There's space between me and you.
So outer
There's,
space. So you think? So what about the solar systems and the moon? Because I
yeah,
would say that we don't really know for sure. I mean, I would say that we could say we definitively know, but to your point,
yeah,
it's about everything that's in front of us. But for a very large percentage, like an overwhelming percentage of people, they're never going to know or never going to be able to experience that. But I
yeah,
don't know if that necessarily makes it not true. But from your perspective,
yeah.
what is your thoughts? Just
Personally,
yeah,
my
personally,
my experience, what I've experienced, and I observe, what I
right?
believe is a stationary flat Earth of some sort. In my observation, I don't know what shape it is, but I don't sense us doing 60,000 miles an hour around the sun and 500,000 miles an hour through an ever expanding vacuum. I just don't sense that when I go outside and you can stack rocks up and they don't move for days. You know, it's like I don't sense this movement of such, astronomical concepts. I just don't sense it. I sense the stillness of the water. If you see, like a pond that looks like a sheet of glass across of it,
Right.
and if you see the slow moving clouds, and if you see the cool, gentle breeze, I experience things that are different than what they tell me I should think. And so I've learned to stop going by what I'm told to think and to just go by. So, I don't know what it is. I'm not saying
Sure.
I know what it
Fair.
is, but I feel like I know what it's not. I feel like that I would argue with somebody and I would launch them if they want to get in a rocket and let's watch it instead of a video camera off into the ocean abyss somewhere. But we'll all gather in Oklahoma. We'll strap their asses in a rocket and we'll send them up into the sky, and see where they go. but I don't think anybody's going to do that. I don't think anybody's going to get in that rocket. So I don't buy it. I've never bought it. And in many years since I was a kid, I guess you could say. So if they want to go to Oklahoma and launch off, I'd be all for it. But it'd be funny to see where that little feller fell down to.
As long as it's Oklahoma. So, I mean, they had the Blue Origin rockets, right, where a handful of people get the opportunity to go way up to the very edge of the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And from up there, you can kind of see the curvature of the Earth. You obviously can't see the whole Earth.
Yeah.
So you're kind of you're more team flat Earth than team round Earth, but you're not saying that's necessarily so. It's just what you believe based on a few other things. You're not the first of my friends to kind of be on that. But how would you describe it then? How would you describe the sun coming up on one side and going down on the other?
Yeah.
The sun's moving and we're not? That's a theory.
Yeah, I'm a seasoned vet.
The sun goes around us. We don't go around the sun. That's a theory.
Yeah. Yeah, the sun, from what I observe, it rotates over the top of the earth, but that's just my observations.
Sure.
But what got me, I'll tell you what got me, and this was before anybody, and this was when it wasn't cool. It's starting to be cool now, and I don't really talk about it much because there's so many people talk about it. You don't really have to. I don't, there's plenty of people that's stressed about it and talking about it. I'm not that guy. However,
Yeah.
I flew from Houston to Japan several years ago. And when I looked out of my window, I always love window seats. And I looked out and I was flying over glaciers. And I'm like, man, I could see glaciers down below. And I'm like, why are we going from Houston to Japan? Because I was thinking about Hawaii and going over the ocean and kind of passing, Well, it shows in the chart that we were going up this arch, and it said that we wanted to stay near the land is what the justification is. So you go up the coast and around and back down to Japan, right? So now the airplane doesn't do a straight line anymore because it wants to stay near the land. So if you can explain to me how landing a crash landing in the ocean and a crash landing in glaciers would be any different, I don't know how landing in some glaciers would feel safer than landing in some water.
Sure.
I don't know. But maybe it is.
You're probably more likely to be found on a glacier than underneath, even if you're a Dallas sickle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe so. But the whole purpose of an airplane is a straight line between 2 points, right? And they're like, well,
certainly
it's
seen
the
that way.
arc, it's the arcs, and it's the jet streams, and this. So I didn't think about it, but one day I began to question a few years later. And I remembered that flight. So I started Googling other people that had taken a flight from Houston to Japan. Come to find out, there's a lot of people was asking the same questions that I was asking. I was like, wow. I've seen like forums and stuff where people were talking about it. Well, then I started looking at flights in the Southern Hemisphere. So if you go to book a plane ticket in the Southern Hemisphere, then you'll understand. Like, it just is what it is. I mean, I can't make it up. I didn't make it up. But go book a flight in the Southern Hemisphere and explain why they don't just fly from here to here. They go way up here and way back down here. But then you take the Gleason's flat Earth map, which is what the government, military, and everyone uses. Okay, that's the map they use, and all of a sudden it makes sense. Like, oh, that's the straight line from here to here, So, anyways,
Interesting.
They tell on themselves, It's like,
yeah, that's definitely interesting.
Yeah.
So we're the aliens. So what? How do you think we got here?
Well,
you think evolution, or were we dropped off?
I say that jokingly in a way,
Got it.
Yes, we're the most likely thing to be called an alien on this earth. But sometimes I look at, flies and bugs, and I'm like, what is that? And you see a spider, and it's like, what is that? It's like, these, you see some creatures, and you're like, what is that? What is that thing?
Nothing looks like us except for some primates. And even then, if you think about it, not really. I saw a Y-File. I don't know if you watched the Y-Files. I saw a Y-Files video, and they were kind of talking about some of these theories. And one of the theories is that we were dropped off here.
Yeah, I mean,
because
it's
everything goes against human evolution, goes against typical evolution, right? Because they say, well, your body adapts. Like all these creatures, all these insects, these fish, these
yeah,
mammals, they've slowly adapted over time, according to historians. We haven't. So if it's cold outside, in the northern hemispheres or the northern areas, those people should be hairier than the people who live closer to the equator,
yeah,
if
yeah,
we're truly evolving. So it's a weird thing to think about, that we may not be from here. Like, we could be the third or fourth iteration of some sort of a, I don't know, species or beings, and our entire history has been erased two or three times over. Like, I don't
yeah.
think anybody has the answer, but there's some very interesting concepts out there.
Yeah, to your point, I believe that pretty much what I feel like I was taught and the narratives that I was given in many of these topics is not how it is. How it
Yeah.
truly is, I can't tell you, and I don't really know that I'm interested in putting the time in to try to figure it out. I more want to enjoy some beach in Malibu, or I want to enjoy some good food or something like that. I want to enjoy my day. I've come to this place where the mind is the eye is never satisfied with the seeing, the ear is never satisfied with the hearing. We're ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. It's like the knowledge and the knowledge and the knowledge. There is no AI, there is no artificial intelligence. It's just a processing and a collection of our intelligence, right? And so they just take what is
Yeah.
real and they
Pretty
collect it
much.
together. They title it artificial, but they could call it like super real intelligence, or they could call it like, whatever you want to name something. But we have to be observers of ourselves first and things around us, to observe our
Yeah.
life. you know
All the AIs still, as far as head as we're supposed to be right now, it's been proven to be not true. And every system still needs human interaction. They still need us to do the prompt, still need us to execute it, still need us to do the checkoff. Still, so it's definitely an interesting thing to kind of look at this. And like I said, with the former guest, or recent guest, if there are extraterrestrials, if that thing I sent you is a new planet that looks like an eyeball that's 46 light years away,
yeah,
we're not even able to leave our own solar system, much less. And so I
yeah,
say all that to say that regardless of what this is, to your point, in a way,
yeah,
it doesn't change anything for us. It might, some
yeah,
religions may crumble, right?
yeah,
If a spaceship lands tomorrow and it's
yeah,
legit and we know it's real, imagine that's going to do to people. But
yeah.
I still have to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't think it's that's like saying that, that a rock's going to fall out of the sky and land into the ocean and we're going to get a typhoon to wipe over America. Like, these are all things that's been told for so long. I have ideas of what's really happened in the world, things with the sun, where the sun's took a few passes like a stinking microwave and just melted everything in its path. I think there's been some things like that that's really happened. Uh
How about the giant craters? How do you explain those? Because here's the thing: the Earth. Look. Let's just play devil's advocate here. The Earth could very much well be flat, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's not floating in some place or some space where something could come and smash it. Because we do have the craters on the moon. We do have craters. I live an hour from it's called like the Mongolian Rim or something like that. It's a huge fucking crater over here.
I think we're talking about, the earth is a carcass. If we want to pull back and look, if we could go, higher and higher, which they're not able to. They're not able to go nothing like they claim they're able to go to. They got some balloons that go up with helium and get some pretty high up shots, but that's all that there is and ever has been. And so, you know, if we did know, the carcasses, the ancient dragons, the ancient giants, the mountains that are literally sleeping giants, and I don't know, where the reality and where
Right,
the
right, right.
spiritual intertwines,
Yep.
uh, you know, uh, I don't know. I can't claim to know all these answers. However, I do know that, like you said, there's layers and layers of history that we can't comprehend.
Yep.
Uh, there's a news article in the early 1800s when I lived in Franklin of the guy that dug, I think it was
Wait. You lived in Franklin in the early 1800s?
No, no, no. When I lived in Franklin, I saw a thing about a news article from the early
Yeah.
1800s, I believe it was, where they had dug up an 18-foot skeleton of a human, and it was like 60 feet. It was the largest skeleton that's ever been dug up in Franklin, Tennessee. Okay, and I'm not making this up. You could probably look it up or whatever. But you take an 18-foot skeleton of a human. Okay, so I believe humans used to be taller. I believe that there's homes that show big high doors and door latches and stuff. So obviously, there's been races of humanity that were larger and over.
There's a thought of that for sure.
Yeah,
There are
yeah. Well, and
definitely
and there's evidence. There's
the Anaku
skeletons.
people or whatever.
Yeah,
Did you guys have the book of Anaku or whatever it is when you were in church, or was that cut
yeah.
out
We
of
were
your Bible too?
we were not allowed to have that one. Yeah. So
Yeah.
right, the Book of Enoch. Yeah,
Enoch, thank you. Yeah, the book of
yeah, yeah.
Enoch. I guess it's been cut out of everything at this point.
Yeah, it has, except for I think the Ethiopian Bible. I think the
Yeah.
Ethiopian Bible is one of the ones that has held to a lot of the calendars and a lot of the true original writings. But there's writings, there's stories, but man, what do we observe? It's beautiful weather here in
Right.
Beverly Hills. I'm
Yeah.
sure it's good weather where it is where you're at.
Let me ask you this. Hold on. So, how do you think the pyramids got here? No one knows. It's that to me for something that's here that we can touch, right? That's one of the things that's still. I mean,
Yeah.
I've heard explanations on Stonehenge, and even that I'm like, what, how? But as far as the pyramids, any thoughts on those?
Let's like my cell phone here. It's not too heavy to me, but if you had three ants together, they would probably struggle picking it up, right? But for me, I mean, I can throw it around, do whatever I want to do with it. So if we had larger humans, they could have took those pebbles and set them in place. Maybe three guys built them, maybe four guys built them. Who we will never know. We can assume,
Right.
right? But what we know is people our size can't do it. So
Right. Yeah.
so we do know that, but we would think then you would have to have a bigger person to either set in place or form some sort of concrete block here or something like that. So, I believe there's ways it was done. There's ways that many things were carved in these buildings that we can't even comprehend. The beauty of the architecture, you know.
There's some little bitty people too, like the Mayans, and the Incas. Like they're little, man. And if you look at like
Yeah, where they
early,
come from.
I don't know, even early Americans, it's like or early settlers here. Like, some of those cottages, those beds are so small and those doors are so small. But I think there's no one size fits all, right?
No, I mean, and we were talking about humanity. If you look at the ethnicities, if you look at the Asian world and the African world, and you look at the European world, a lot of my family I've learned come from Scotland, and then my ancestors came down through Virginia and all that into America in the 1600s and all that. And then I had a great great grandmother that was Cherokee Indian. So I have a lot of Scottish and Cherokee, in me. So and we all have this, they talk about, ethnicities. Not, man, we all have a little bit of a lot of things in us that we probably
Right.
can't even comprehend, this come down the pipeline.
So what's next for Dallas Walker? What
You know,
outside of the air filtration and the
yeah.
whole house filtration system? Like what projects are you at freedom to talk about? What are you excited about besides we have the movie coming out?
Yeah. So definitely the products and the home, the parts of going into the home and increasing people's quality of life in different ways in their home, educating people learning. But I'm working on some music. I'm currently, while I'm out here, I've got some world music that I've written.
Nice.
Very different sound than what I used to do. And so I'm working on that. I want to do some world music releases, around the world, that kind of stuff. And, you know, positive message, things that, get our minds out of, death and doom and despair and all the drama, and to become grounded in our day.
Right.
I've very much become present. you know uh Presence
It's
is where eternity is. Eternity is in the
yep.
present moment, it's not somewhere else. And there's always been this like chasing eternity thing or chasing heaven or whatever, but it's all here if we become present in gratitude and recognizing, man, this is really good. If you think about it, think about how good you feel. And I could start telling you about a pain I had in my back earlier, and I could tell you about a knee, and I could talk to you about different things. But the truth is I feel fucking amazing, and life is good, and I'm blessed. And these are the words that I speak, right? And these are the things that I let my mind. So when people say, "Oh, I'm getting old and I'm breaking down," well, I'm not participating. I think it is what it is. Okay. But at the same time, I don't have to fixate on it. I don't
Right.
have to make my ever living moment about my age and my ache and my pain and my problem and all this stuff. We do have the power through our own sovereignty in our mind to think on good things. That's what's
I
next for me,
agree.
man. Every day, thinking on good things, building, growing, having fun, and loving life.
We talked about this a few years ago, and I don't recall because about being a car guy or a truck guy. And I want to say that because people look at you, and maybe it's because of the country music past, and they like that Dallas Walker. Maybe it's because your name, like Dallas Walker, Texas Ranger. You're a car guy, right? Are you? Because I want to say you're a truck guy. But I don't think you're a truck guy. I don't know if you even care about either.
I have both. To be honest with you, I grew up loving Corvettes. I mean,
That's what
what
it
I don't know.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So Corvettes was my thing, and I've ridden in one, I've sat in one and ridden in one. I was always afraid to ride them. I was afraid I'd want to get one, whatever. I may get one eventually, but I haven't found the spot where that made sense. It isn't because I couldn't, but it's because it's some things for me, and this is just my personality, become a distraction, right? So I'm kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
laser
Yeah.
focused on some certain things. I'm riding around in Beverly Hills in a convertible BMW right now, so the renter dealership did me good on that. I love all of it. I've got a big truck, 4-wheel drive at home with big mutters, big diesel truck.
There you go.
Yeah, yeah. So I've got the trucks, but I love cars. But I think that's my dad used to have a saying: "Bigger toys for bigger boys." And I guess I'm still trying to grow up and become the big boy that can have all the big toys. You're
No, on
you're
your
already there, brother. You got the toys.
I got small toys. I got two small cars.
What's on the
Um,
list?
with
What's
I
on
don't
the
know,
wish
man.
list?
I don't know, Dallas. I don't know. There's just so
No limits. What is it? No limits.
there's stuff I want from the early 2000s, but it's got to be the right fit. It's got to come with the right community because for me, cars and community is synonymous in a
Yeah,
sense, right?
yeah, yeah.
And unfortunately, I mean, one could say it doesn't matter. Just get it for you. Well, it is for me, but as you know, cars is a huge part of my community.
For sure, absolutely.
And so that matters, right? I mean, I can get a Porsche. Everybody's got a Porsche. It doesn't make them bad, doesn't make them good, but there's a lot of good ones, but they just kind of blend in, right? And I've got friends with some special ones, but I don't know. There's an old Aston Martin that I really want. Um, the Aston Martin V12 Vanquish '02 to '06. It was one of the James Bond cars. I mean, that's just me, man. But I don't know
Well,
about
is
the
that is
Aston
that
Martin
the one?
community.
You know,
I don't know what I owned the one before for 9 years. It's the one
yeah,
on the wall behind me.
yeah.
Uh, even my current car, I fucking love it, but it's not a forever car. So I don't know. I kind of don't shop until I'm ready to shop. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I had somebody ask me a question one day, and I'll put it to you in this way about the car. So I think you can ask it about anything. They said, if you could be doing anything you want to do, anything, what would that be? we were going down the road, and I'm like, wow, I don't think about this because we think about what we're told we should do or what we
Sure.
whatever.
Yeah.
But he asked me that, and I'm like, wow, and I had to really think about it. But that's what I was asking you. If there was no limit, if you could have any car that there is, out there to be obtained, that's what I was asking. What would that car be?
There's two cars. One would be, there's a car called the Vector, Vector W8. And that was one of my first poster cars. I finally rode in one in Michigan a few years ago, and it's one of the first ones ever made. They only made like 17 of them. And that was cool, but it was almost like a don't meet your heroes moment, because the car looks cool because it is, especially when you're in 7th or 8th grade. I'm 50 now. I think at the time I rode in, I was 47. But you get in it and it's super analog. It looks like a spaceship. It's a 3-speed automatic, which is ungodly weird. And it's probably a maintenance nightmare. And so I would love one of those, but it would probably be a McLaren, like a 90s McLaren F1, which is the most common answer any car person is probably going to tell you. The 3-seater, the driver sits in the middle, and it's probably $25-30 million car right now. And you could drive it. I think Mr. Bean had one. Jay Leno has one, but the answer to that, just in general, it changes with your life, right? Because if I were to ask you that when you're 34, it would have been a complete answer than when you're 36.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
And so that changes. And I love cars. People know me for cars, but I'm old enough to know that there's more to life than just cars.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
you're
some people that's some people that's their whole life. And for me, it's not, anymore. Once upon a time it may have been, but it's not anymore. So, if I could be doing anything to take that question, it might be sitting on a beach with plenty of money in my bank account and listening to the waves, it could be that. I don't know. It could be playing with some hermit crabs in a tide pool.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I can tell you, it doesn't cost a lot of money to sit on the beach, but if you sit on the beach with plenty of money in the bank, that's a whole nother situation, right? So that would, I guess, give you the peace of mind that you don't have anything to think about or go do or worry about. But definitely, like you said, how it changes, what's important. And, as we season, as we go into different parts of life, it's really fun to me. The things that I used to look at as stress and dread, I've started perceiving it, because perception's everything. That car you mentioned, I've heard people talk about those cars. Okay. And I saw a McLaren F1 the other night sitting here on the side of the road. I actually was going to take a picture of it as I was fixing to walk into a restaurant. And then I thought, well, I was going to be that guy, taking a picture of this car, but it was beautiful. Right. But, it didn't make me want to get one. However, I can see like that 69 Corvette, like for me.
There you go. Yeah.
For me, you talk about being a kid and what the impact emotionally it had to you. And that's what the 69 Corvette had to me, is this, emotional impact. So if I went back, it would probably be something as simple as a 69 Corvette, which I don't know how simple that is, but
it's not simple, but it's definitely more simple than a McLaren F1.
Yeah.
A lot more of them to pick from. But that's not about that.
I believe you could have that car. And I don't know how many 3 people has it, or 4 or 5, but I'm the type of person, I believe that if you want that, it's your world. And in our sovereignty, we are, and this is just me, and I'm not trying to go churchy and preachy or nothing, but I believe we are the children of God, the sons of God and daughters of God. And I believe that if we do set our mind to something, that we can obtain it if we truly want it, and we'll work towards it. And so, say it's 20 million, it's 30 million, it's 50 million. Well, that may seem unimaginable, but somebody has it. And they're no better than you are, and they're no better than I am. And so when we really perceive that and start understanding, like, hey, if I truly want this, maybe I just don't want it that bad, or maybe,
Yeah. If
you
if
know,
it's meant to be, then you'll figure out a way to make it be, right? I think so.
yeah,
It
yeah.
depends on
You'll
whatever our
haul one
plan
out of a
is.
garage and you'll give $3,000 for it and you'll restore it and get it all up. Yeah, that's what'll happen.
That's it. Dallas, do your businesses have any socials, or do you want to send them to
Yeah,
me and then I can link them in the description? More than
man,
willing
I
to
would
link everything we need to.
I would love that, man. I've got a website, AmericanPurityWaterSystems.com, that anybody can go to. Uh, it's got a lead funnel. If anybody has interest, I can get somebody with them to give them more information about the product. It'll solve your problem. It'll save you a lot of money in your appliances and a lot of money in water that you're buying and carrying in so annoyingly all the time. So delivering clean water to every tap. Yeah. American Purity Water Systems. I think we've got an Instagram, and a TikTok, and all that. But yeah, I'll shoot you some links on that.
Cool, Dallas. Thank you for making today happen for us.
Man,
It's been a long time in the making. It's been a
yeah,
lot of fun.
yeah. I appreciate you. One day I want to get to interview you. I'd like to hear more of your story too.
It's not nearly as exciting as yours, but
Oh, I bet
whenever
it
you
is.
feel like doing it, I'll be here, buddy.
I believe it is.
All right, we'll see you on One Drink Wednesday at some point soon.
Yes,
Hell,
sir.
it's One Drink Wednesday tonight.
All right. Well, I've got dinner down here somewhere, so if I flip it on in the place, I can cheers you guys.
Shit. Okay, so not tonight. All right, Dallas. Thanks, buddy.
See you, Jay.
It's funny. I realized after doing that opening, I feel like I was yelling into the microphone, which isn't my normal persona, but I was excited to introduce Dallas Walker. There's a lot to unpack on that conversation that we had. I could have dug in more. I understand that, but this show isn't about that. It's not about the overly hot take. It's not about me getting my guests on here and grilling them for their opinions on things. People have different opinions. God, how insincere would that have been for me to grill him about his opinions on the planets, on aliens, on giants, on how the pyramids were made, when I promote opinions are great for the show. This is what the show is all about. Opinions and fun conversations with people. And it's also one of the reasons why I typically don't have complete strangers on this show. I usually know, not always, but I usually know a little bit about my guests in some sort of a personal interaction. For Dallas Walker, it was through One Drink Wednesday, but I had no idea that he's gone through those things. It does explain a lot why he disappeared for a long time. And once every blue moon, he'll pop into our show on Wednesdays. But like I said, you guys could join us on One Drink Wednesday at One Drink Wednesday on Instagram. You don't even have to drink. We just have a lot of fun. Some of you check in and check out. We just have conversations about what's going on during the week. We get to some really fun movie trivia, which sometimes we do give stuff away. We kind of stopped as much because we don't bring in any money. It's just we're spending our money mailing shit out. And then ultimately we do This Day in History, which is always a fun segment. It's one of my favorite segments. What happened this day? And so hopefully you found that conversation is fun and is entertaining as I did. And then, support his new businesses. Those are great. Like I said, we have a whole house filtration system here. I'm not going to switch over to his company because we already have one and they're kind of expensive. And they're kind of a set it and forget it, at least for a decade or so. But yeah, your water is important. What you drink is important. What you shower with is important, more important than you know, as is the air quality around you. Want to get to this note really quick. There is a second annual summer poker tournament. If you're here in the Scottsdale area, it's supporting children and families in need. I got this from Jane D'Amelio, the director of philanthropy of Wilson Automotive Group over multiple dealerships and the primary sponsor of this show, Right Honda, Right Toyota. This will benefit the CARE organization and Every Kid Counts, primarily sponsored by Right Honda, Right Toyota. Saturday, September 26, 2026, obviously at DC Ranch here in Scottsdale, Arizona. To find out more about this, look up Cards for Kids, all scratched together, and I will post the link of that in the description of this podcast. And it will also, of course, be on the social media. There will be casino tables, food, a bar. It's also a party. It's going to be a lot of fun. According to Jane, I believe Jane, I will try to be in attendance. General admission tickets are $50. Poker table tickets, I think, are like 100 or 150. So it's pretty reasonable. Of course, it all goes to a great cause. It is a charity event. So again, if you're in the Scottsdale area, if you're in the Phoenix area and you want to have a little fun, that is September 26th. And with that being said, I want to thank Wright Honda and Wright Toyota, Arcus Foundry / Spark Forge, AutoCannon, officially licensed Honda and Acura gear. I want to thank our business supporters, Kuya Automotive out of Winter Garden, Florida, Automotive Specialty Tool out of Owings Mills, Maryland, Big House Small Home Design out of Ashburn, Virginia, and Traverse City, Michigan, the Lucky Break Sports Breakers out of Caledonia, Michigan, and Shaming Success Treasure Valley out of Boise, Idaho. Also want to thank the personal sponsors of this podcast, Mark Stoneman, Catherine Cox, Eddie Ramos, Richard Graves, Drew Bunkley, Byron Jones, Andre Mullins, and Nate Robertson. If you would like to become one of these people, just go to patreon.com/Hard Parking Podcast. If you are watching this on YouTube, become a channel member. Same roughly benefit. Buy me a cup of coffee or don't. Questions, comments, or concerns, info@Hard Parking. Follow the show @Hard Parking Pod on Instagram. Make sure you're subscribed @Hard Parking on YouTube. And I will talk to you all next week.
Shut up!